Hey everybody, Ryan here from Summit Multisport Coaching. Today I want to get a little bit of a run through for the Try for Jimmy Triathlon. It's a sprint triathlon that's going to be next Sunday. So we're going to go through the swim course, the bike course, the run course, and we'll talk a little bit about transition. And hopefully you guys will all get a little bit out of this. And if you have any questions, you can certainly send me a message. I'll put my email up at the end of the video. So let's dive in. All right, so generally we're gonna wade into the water right about here, and then Lisa's gonna scream or give an air horn or something like that, and you're gonna go and you're gonna swim straight out. It's pretty much to the corner of that beach over there, and then you come across, and then there'll be a buoy there, there'll be a buoy over here, and then you'll come straight back in, and they're gonna weight down the buoys over here for the swim area. So that section going parallel with the beach, it will be weighted down. You'll come out of the water and then you run up, and there'll be flags in the sand to straighten you out and get you all the way out to the parking lot where there will be the transition area. Usually she puts some kiddie pools right once you get onto the pavement here. You can step through those if you'd like, get the sand off your feet, and then you're gonna bang a right. And from right around here, all the way to just before that silver car on the left will be racks for the transition area. And so you'll go through the transition. It's open transition, so once you get here, you don't have to find a specific spot. You can just pick wherever you like. So when you get onto the bike, you're gonna get on your bike, you're gonna bring it out of transition until you get to the mountain line. It'll be very easily marked, and then you're gonna exit the park straight out through, and then you're gonna head right onto the main road. So as soon as you go past the little guard hut or whatever you wanna call it, there'll be a bunch of cones. You're gonna go out, you're gonna hit the main road, you're gonna take a right. So once we hit this right turn, as we're approaching it here, it's going to be a little bit of an S-bend, and this is where we want to really think about the pavement. So as you can see, there's some pavement that's been laid on top of pavement, some patches and whatnot, and then we're going to go through this, like I said, this S-bend, and you're going to go up and kind of a little bit of a down. And at that point, again, there's a little bit of bumps, nothing too crazy. I've just ridden the course and I didn't find it to be too bad, but you will be bumping around just a little bit in this section as we get into the housing area and everything else. So as we go through this area, personally, I find that the best lines are right to the right, and that's where we want to be anyway, unless you're making a pass. So staying right along that right side of the road, again, being aware, probably not being in the arrow position too much in this first little bit of section through the homes. And then we're gonna get to this little bit of a downhill, and then we creep up and we go around again. So right now, most of the pavement, again, you can see on the video, it looks pretty good except for that center line. So just kind of stay to the right and you should be totally fine. And then we're gonna get down to this little bit of a downhill. This section is actually really smooth, so you can kind of rip through here. As soon as you start taking the left, this is gonna be the worst pavement of the course. It's a very short section, but it's very bumpy. So be careful, pay attention if you have bottles on your bike. We wanna make sure that you don't lose any of those. There is gonna be an aid station, so you can take care of that if you need to. But then we get to this four-way stop. You won't have to stop. Obviously, I had to stop because I was in the car. Again, you can see the bumps, and then look at this beautiful new pavement. From this point on, you're pretty much good to go as far as bumps. So it's just that one little section. It's not even a mile long, and then you're good to go. Come around this corner, and this is going to be the biggest hill of the race. So it's not very long, but it is a little bit steep. So as we get going up this hill, this is also part of the run course, which you'll see again later. Take your time going up it. Put yourself into an easier gear if you need to, and then just cruise along. Once you get to the top of the hill, we're sailing for a while. We're gonna get all the way straight. Again, you can find yourself, if you have aero bars or if you're in a road bike, you can get yourself tucked down, get as aero as you can. Maybe at this point your heart rate's settled a bit. You can get a little bit of drink in your system. Maybe if you have a goo, pop that. Try and relax. Remember, the best thing that we can do on race day is enjoy race day. So, cheer on people as they pass you, tell them good job. If you pass somebody, tell them good job, that kind of thing. Make sure that you're not drafting right behind anybody. But as you can see, you know, we're just really ripping through this section. So this is the back half of the course. If it is sunny in the morning, this area will probably be pretty shaded, and it is very quick. So we get through that little uphill, like I said before, and then we're just cruising along for quite some time. As we come around this little bit of a corner, it's kind of like a false flat, so you don't have to worry too much, but we are going to be going up a little bit. You might notice that your speed isn't exactly as fast as it would be on a normal flat area, because again, you're on a little bit of a false flat, and then when we get to this big opening, start descending again. So it's not too much of a descent, but it's enough of a descent that you can really push the power down, get some extra speed. And again, we're going to be coming up to an orchard soon. When we get to that point, we're going to start climbing, and then we're going to be on big descent before the long straightaway back. So we'll just check in just a bit. So this section is a bit of a downhill, so you can really get into that arrow tuck position. On this particular day that I was filming, there was road work. There will not be road work on the day of the race. I promise you that. They're just doing some stuff with the power lines as far as I know. But so this is all just a little bit of a downhill. So you can really pick up some speed here. Just be careful with other riders around and everything else, especially in the second lap as the course gets a little bit more congested. But for the most part, you can tuck and go. If you have aero bars, you can really get into that tight aero position, get your head down and cruise along. You'll see where they were cutting these trees down. At that point, you're going to start going up again. It's not too bad of a hill. It's not very long either. And once you'll see the red barn off in the distance there, that's going to be your right turn, and we're going to be by the orchard. So there's, again, a little bit of an increased incline here, and then we're going to turn, and then you're going to be able to see past the orchard. That's the top of the hill. So fear not. It's not very steep. It's not very far. Just, again, put yourself in an easy gearing. Make sure your cadence stays up nice and high. Not too high, but at a reasonable amount, so you're not like grinding through mud as we go through here. You can see that the pavement's not perfectly pristine as it was on that back stretch through the homes, but it is still very flat, nice, no major bumps or anything like that, no huge potholes, so you should be pretty good to go. Like I said, the orchard's on the right at this point, and then we're going to head forward. We're going to get to this beautiful section of pavement. Unfortunately, it's not the rest of the course, but it is a good amount of course. And then right when we get to the top of this, where we get the right turn, this is going to be our downhill. The new pavement is going to stop in a minute, and we want to make sure that we're careful once we get to that point. As you can see right here, we change over to the older pavement. It's not that it's very bumpy, but you're going downhill, you're going fast. There are a couple little spots where you're vibrating a little bit. Just be careful. When we get to the bottom of the hill, we're going to hit the stop sign. Again, on race day, you don't have to stop. There will be volunteers. There's usually a police officer or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. We're going to bang a right. On this right turn, sometimes out on the corner there's a little bit of sand, so maybe go a little bit more into the middle of the lane, not the middle of the road, but in the middle of the lane. So you can see there's a manhole cover there, some drainage. You're going to take the turn. Looking really closely, there's no major potholes on that turn, so you don't need to fully brake as you come around the corner onto this main strip. And then we're going straight all the way back home. We're going to hit the Dunkin' Donuts and take a right. On this section, this is where you want to fuel again, where you want to get aero. If you're worried about getting really, really tight into your aero position, you want to find your rhythm. If you're using a power meter, hit those prescribed watts. If you're thinking about heart rate, try and level off your heart rate as you just did a little bit of undulating in the climbs. It was a little more stochastic than it would be where you're at right now. And this is that last straightaway. So on the first lap, you're cruising. Don't worry about anything. Again, fueling, keeping it nice and straight. Pavement's beautiful. You can look down at that white line, maybe 10 feet in front of your front wheel, and just cruise along. And the next thing you know, you're already going to be at the finish. can see, as we get through this more congested area on the back stretch of this long straightaway, there's a few little rougher spots within the pavement. I know I'm kind of harping on that, but I had a couple people ask me about the pavement, and so that's why I'm really focused on it. Just watch the video a couple times and notice that whenever there is a rough spot, there's always a good line. So you'll be able to get through that nice straight line without any rough pavement as long as you pick the right spot to be in. As you come up to the turn, please notice that when we come around the corner, the pavement changes from one to another layer of pavement, and so it is a little bit of a bump. And so on that corner, there are going to be cones, and it's going to be a little bit of a narrow turn for you. So just make sure that as you're going around the corner, you do slow down, because there is a little bit of a bump, and if you're turning and it's a little bit of a bump, it can be a little bit hectic. First lap, you're going to blow right by the Hamden Pond sign. Second lap, we're going to come back into the parking lot. So we'll be on the opposite side of the guard shack coming in. There's that little bit of a roundabout, so make sure that you're not carrying too much speed. Do the S-curve, and then we're back on the outside of the transition area. So our transition is going to be to our left. So we're going to just scoot straight along all the way to the end of the parking lot. At this point, if you have clip-in shoes, either have your shoes unclipped or your feet outside of your shoes, and then you'll get off of your bike before you make the U-turn typically. So there'll be the dismount line and a bunch of volunteers, and then you'll scoot forward and you'll get right back to your transition area. Get your bike shoes, get your helmet off, everything else, put your bike back, run shoes, number, hat if you're going to wear it, sunglasses, all that kind of stuff, and then boom, you're out of transition and onto the run course. So we exit transition the same way we do on the bike, and then we bang a right before we get to the main road. So we turn onto this service road. A lot of people use it for fishing, and so then you follow along this road, and it's going to be an out and back. So the course is a little bit shorter than 5K, so you can push a little bit harder. It's like 0.2 miles shorter than 5K, so not terribly short, but it is a little bit shorter just for your own sake. You know, if you're worried about, oh, I have to run a full 5K, typically it is a little bit short, so you should be good. So we're going to go straight along this. Now, for the run, again, I'm kind of harping on the pavement quality, because I've had a few athletes ask me about, you know, is it going to be like it was in the past? Do you think it's going to be better or worse, whatever? So I went out, I rode it, I ran it. The run course is surprisingly worse than the bike course. So just be really careful, especially as we get, so we're gonna get to this parking lot again, turns over to gravel, and then there's gonna be a gate. I'll have to skip us through to the other side of the gate because I couldn't drive through it, but I was able to drive to the other side. When you get to the other side of the gate, again, it's still gravel, and then we get past this parking lot on our left, and then it becomes a little bit of pavement and a little bit of gravel. Please be really careful. There are a fair amount of potholes, and so while you're running, while you're tired, we don't want you to roll an ankle. We don't want anybody to trip and fall, anything like that. So just be really careful. Be aware of your surroundings. Again, there's not going to be too much traffic. There won't be any car traffic, but there won't be too much pedestrian traffic or anything like that, occasional fishermen and whatnot. But you can see that I'm slowing down, and the hood of the car is kind of going around because there are a fair amount of potholes. Not as big a deal when you're running. You should be able to pretty easily avoid them. Again, staying to the far right and the far left as you're running back and forth shouldn't be too much of a problem, but I do want you to all be aware that it is a thing that we have to overcome as we go through the run course. Hit the stop sign, please don't stop, keep running. Again, there'll be a volunteer here directing bikes if there's still bikes out while you're running, or just directing runners. You're gonna hang a right, and we're gonna go through that same housing area that we did before. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word neighborhood, the neighborhood. And then, so you're gonna notice that you'll have ridden it twice, so you'll know where this, all right, I get to the neighborhood, I go up the little hill, I do a little bit of an S-curve, I go through the 4-point stop, hit the aid station, up the hill, take a left, spin around, come back. We're gonna do all that right now. So we just went up the first little hill. That brings us to a little bit of a downhill. So nice reprieve for the legs, quads get a little bit of time to relax, and then we go down again into that part of the pavement that was a little bit rough on the bike. So you come down here, this is our little bit of an S-curve. We're gonna turn here. I believe this is right around a mile mark, if I remember correctly. Again, watch out for your feet while you're running. We don't want anybody to roll an ankle or anything like that. Get through the four-point stop. That's where the next aid station is gonna be. Typically it's on your right, I believe. So you can, as you run past, there'll be volunteers handing water cups and things like that. So you're able to, get everything you need. Take your time. If it's really hot, pour some water on your face and then get a second cup and get a little bit. If you're carrying goos or anything, have a goo and then wash it down with water. Again, you can email me if you have any questions, like for anything nutrition or race related. So here we are on that hill. It's gonna feel a lot steeper while you're on the run, I would imagine. So just, short steps, keep yourself up nice and tall, glutes engaged, drive those knees, and just kind of think one foot in front of the other without too big of a bound, because that's often when you will cause a cramp and it just makes it a lot harder to run. Get to the top of the hill, you're gonna take a left at the first street. I believe it's a dead end sign like that. That's another little bit of an uphill. Remember, all of these uphills, it's an out and back course. So that means we have the downhills on the way home, which is awesome. So you're gonna run all the way to the end of the dead end street. There'll be a volunteer here typically with a cone. You're gonna go around the cone. I had to do a little bit of a 3-point turn. Maybe we'll edit that out. And then we're cruising. So we're up a little bit of a hill, and then we're down that first bit of the hill on this dead end road. And then we get to the end, and then it's a little bit of a steep downhill. Hang a right. Watch out for runners coming up, because oftentimes they'll hug that corner. So you want to just make sure that you don't, as you're coming around the stop sign and someone's coming up the hill, you don't want to collide. So just give it a little bit of room and make sure that you're aware as you're coming down the hill. And then, open up your stride a little bit. Get going. Gradual downhill until we get to the top of that other steeper section. And this time we get to go down. So it's the only time of the race that we get to go down. We get to the top of this one, down, and then the aid station's there again. So you just did that little out and back, need a little bit more water. It's really hot, and maybe it's not hot, but you still want more water. Toss the water on your face, grab some more in the drink, and then cruise along. So at this point, you have a little less than a mile to go, I believe. So you're at the 4-point stop, blow right through it, finish it on up nice and strong, get through a little bit of an uphill on the reverse of this S curve as we get through the neighborhood, and then we've got the top of that last hill. We get to go down. The lake is going to be the pond is going to be on your left. So we'll take a left. Here we are on Fisherman's Row again, nice and flat section. You're gonna cruise as best you can. Just get along here, get through that gate. Once you're through the gate, you're on the little bit of gravel, and then you're on that last stretch, and you're hundreds of yards away from the finish line. Wooden barricades on either side of the road instead of the metal, and then there's going to be the opening off to your left. So at this point, you're going to cut down on a little bit of a road, like a service road, if you will, and you're going to go down that, and then you're going to cut past the tree. You're going to go straight along the beach, and there'll be the finish line at that point. Curious about the club. If you need anything from me at all, please feel free to come to the team tent after or before the race. If I'm available, I'll be happy to chat with you. I love the sport of triathlon. I love triathletes. I love spreading the sport and helping it grow. And so anything we can do to get more athletes across the finish line, the better. As always, I would love it if you could hit the like button on the video, subscribe to our channel, more triathlon videos for you, other course previews, more course previews to come in the future. And as always, live intentionally.